All right, so let's go for a little drive around town and see what we see. Coming up to this stop sign, there's no line on the ground, no sidewalk on either side, so I can legally go right up to the edge of the road, even if it means it's past the stop sign. We're going to be taking the left here, and if it's clear, I make my turn. I'm going to be making a right turn here. I'm thinking about the cyclists here on the right. As I'm coming up to make a full stop, they might catch up to me. And so because I have a stop sign and they don't, I should yield the way to them. And there's no one on the left. I can see the back of their stop sign. So once they pass by, one last shoulder check right, and off I go. I can see a sign for a speed hump coming up here. So trying to get up to 40, 45 before them, and then slowing down just before, taking my foot off the brake and the gas as I go over at around 30. The flatter they are, the easier it is to go over them. So again, getting back up to speed and then getting back down just before I make contact. I slow it down to what I need to be, and then taking my foot off the brake and gas, back on the gas. Here's another raised crosswalk, so same idea, slowing down just before and taking my foot off both pedals, getting over it at a nice smooth speed. We're going to be making a left turn at this intersection, so I signal to the left at this traffic circle and checking for anyone approaching quickly from the left, and no one's here on the right that I need to yield to. So coming up to make this turn, I see a dog in the corner. It's a cat, and there's no center divide line, but I try to stay on my side of the imaginary line here. Again, that's another sign for a speed bump here, slowing down to 20, 25. This one is a bit more rounded on the top, so I take it a bit slower. I think for these ones, 20, 25 works well. Right, and getting back up to speed. So I'm giving it a hustle wherever I can. We're going to be taking the right at this intersection. So making a full stop before the stop line. Shoulder checking right. If it's clear, on my way. It was a four-way stop. First to stop, first to go. I can see a stop sign in the corner there, so This is one that students miss often because they're not scanning wide enough. But anyway, there's no stop line, no sidewalk. So we're coming up right up to the edge of the road where I can get a good line of sight, but I need to make a full stop. I check both ways. It's clear. I proceed. Another hidden stop sign coming up here. We're going to be taking the left. If you're not looking for it, you'll miss it. There it is behind a hedge. And coming up here, making a full stop before that sidewalk on the right. She's pretty far away, so I'm going to inch forward, and the car is pretty far away, going really slow, so I'm going to make my turn. Another sign for a speed hump here, slowing down, 20-25 for this one. Okay, great. We're going to be taking the right at the intersection coming up, and you can see it's a regular stop sign and a flashing red light. Same idea, flashing red light is a stop sign for me. Making a full stop behind a line, shoulder checking right. No one's using the crosswalk here, so I'm going to inch forward, quarter steering to the right, checking carefully to the left, shoulder checking right, and off I go. If those cars were any closer approaching me, even if they're in the other lane, I would yield to them. Getting back up to speed, 47 to 53 is what I'm aiming for in the city here. I'm going to be switching over to left, so mirror shoulder check, and done with that maneuver. I cancel my signal in a timely manner. Going to be making a left at the light coming up here. So I'm going to signal to the left 5 seconds before I get to the intersection, giving the car behind me a bit more heads up room to be able to switch out of this lane. There's oncoming traffic, so I aim to go into my waiting position. Back wheels in the middle of the crosswalk. There's a gap here between these two cars, so I make my turn. Okay, so always put your money on you probably have to wait in the waiting position, so come in slow enough that it allows you to do that. Another speed hump here, slowing down, 20-25, letting go of the pedals as I go over. It says limited vision, so there might be something coming up here that I can't see. In fact, there's an intersection that's a bit hard to see here, so I'm going to signal, mirror shoulder check early, and make my turn at about 17-18 kilometers an hour. And because there are parked cars here on the side here, I need to drive closer to the center divide line. Now, sometimes students will want to dip in here, and then as they get to this car, they will dip out again. And this is not correct, right? Because this is sending the wrong message to the car behind me about what I'm doing. It looks like I'm pulling over and then I go no. So this is a big no-no. We need to stay on the road. We treat the side as if there is a sidewalk or a parking lane there. So I'm staying on the right side of the imaginary center divide line as much as I can. And then now that I'm off that bend, I'm gonna pick up my speed again because I can see it's nice and clear for the foreseeable future. This is technically a 50 zone. I'm not necessarily gunning it to 50, but I'm also not hanging out at 25 or 30 when there's no need. And we're going to be taking the right at the intersection coming up. So we're going to signal early. It's a regular stop sign coming up to make a full stop before the wheelchair access point of the sidewalk. We shoulder check right. I creep forward. It's really hard to see to the left here, so I got to slow down, covering my brake, pressing the brake, checking carefully to the left, shoulder checking right again, and then off I go. Okay, so that's really important that that's done correctly. We're coming up again to a blind corner here, thinking about what hazards could be presenting themselves. We're going to be taking the right at this intersection, so I'm going to signal early. Now, I'm going to always try to come up to the stop line perpendicular to it, so I'm going to make a full stop as soon as it disappears out of my sight. I shoulder check right. As I go forward to see what's happening to right, I quarter steer right, and I'm checking to the right. Once I know it's clear, I shoulder check right, and then I make the turn. So notice I didn't try to turn at the exact same time as that car was passing by. We try to stagger our turns so we're not making the turn as he's passing. We're going to be switching over to the left when you think it's safe. And we're going to be taking the left at the light coming up. So slowing down, getting ready to yield to oncoming traffic. Now that I can see it's clear, I make my turn at about 20 to 25. So notice I'm never rushing into these left turns. I always assume that I probably need to slow down to wait. That is the right strategy, not rushing in to make a turn at the intersection. coming into a playground zone, slowing down nice and early for this 30. So I'm passing the sign just a hair below 30 here, maintaining that 30 until I see the back of that sign. You can see a lady walking here because she's got no sidewalk. She's walking on the road, so that's a hazard. I'm scanning this intersection. I don't have a stop sign, so I'm not slowing down to stop. These guys have a stop sign. I can see the back of their stop signs. I can also see the back of that playground zone sign I was talking about here. So that marks the end of that 30 zone. So now I can pick up my pace. However, I'm gonna be pulling over here to finish off the video here. So signal shoulder check, and there you go. Let's do a 3-point turn. We're gonna signal shoulder check to the left, and then we're going to signal gear steer. Make sure it's clear, 360 check. Turn around. We're gonna signal one last time. Gear steer, make sure it's clear, and off I go. So that's a 3-point turn there. Going back into a playground zone here. So 31 is a tad bit fast, 29, 30 is what we're aiming for.